Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Screen Scene Guru coming at you with another video on entertainment news updates. This one primarily will be about the new Lanterns trailer that they just dropped for San Diego Comic-Con. This was at the end of July, so I am catching up a bit. Green Lantern's Light Guys. Super excited about the series coming out August 16th on Max. So I've got a couple of days worth of notes to dive into now that we are officially in August 1st. So let's go back to the 22nd of July real quick. Just a few quick jot notes I thought would be good to keep in the public's mind. Cinquetivo, of course, celebrating a 5-year anniversary, so big shout out to him on YouTube. We've also got Tim McCallum talked with Jeremy Corbell about the phenomenon, how some of these files are going to be dropped, released. The president waived NDAs for certain retired government contractors, so he allowed several people, former employees, to come to Arrow, department in the Pentagon, and pursue a other government task force with gathering evidence on the phenomena. So some people are questioning, are NDAs really waived due to this signing of a paper? Or, I mean, a lot of these whistleblowers, like Luis Elizondo, has come out recently in a truck stop video where he's driving across country. He went after UAP Gerb for accusing him of being in the Legacy program. And supposedly controlling technology and secrecy, which we know counterintelligence is. So yeah, we know that Luis Elizondo tried to speak with Arrow, and they were not very forthcoming. With the last director, Mr. Sean Kirkpatrick, was actually trying to confuse whistleblowers, trying to accuse them of lying, other things, just a not very trustworthy individual. At least 5 pending lawsuits against Paramount Warner Brothers merger, which is going to push it back to 2027, which is kind of interesting. I was one of the people that was thinking this merger wouldn't go off with too many hiccups, but now they are facing quite a lot of lawsuits. A state attorney general is actually blocking them, so it's quite a big update. 12 states have gone against them, so they've got quite a hurdle. We also heard just after Comic-Con ended, Mahershala Ali came out on social media to confirm the solo Blade film is scrapped, and he's not appearing in other projects. We're not exactly sure if this comment is true. He may appear in Secret Wars just as like a cool Easter egg, but given the way the actor has described the situation, sounds a lot like what happened with Scarlett Johansson, how she was very much mistreated by the last CEO, Bob Chapek, when her movie came out, Black Widow. Her movie was dumped on streaming. She had to fight them, and she won against Disney in the court of law. So, similar situations going on there with Mahershala. He's just saying the project never got off the ground, and it seems like even Kevin Feige came out in a comment just this last week saying he feels like a loser for not getting the project ready. Just kind of an interesting statement. But we've got Blade Runner 2099. The first trailer was dropped for San Diego Comic-Con. It looked amazing. We got Hunter Schafer and Michelle Yeoh. It looks like Hunter Schafer will play a human, and Michelle Yeoh is going to play a synthetic or a robot. And now the story has changed. It seems like synthetics are hunting down humans. Looking forward to this show. Looking forward to where the lore goes. Are they going to try to connect the Blade Runner universe to Alien finally after all these years? We'll have to see. This show is being produced by Ridley Scott, so I am very confident in it. Okay, so we talked about Blade Runner 2099. Now we've got Avatar and the Seven Heavens. So this is really big stuff, guys. They just dropped the new Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender movie on Paramount Plus. Not a lot of people have that, so they're not watching it. But there is an official new series coming as well from Nickelodeon, which is Avatar and the Seven Heavens. This is going to follow up after the Legend of Korra. If you guys are big fans of that, Korra is appearing in the Seven Heavens. There's going to be a new Earthbender girl Avatar. So basically, they're catching up where we left off in the books. There's been Avatar books for like 10 plus years. And now the movie that just came out and the series that are coming are going to catch up the fans if they haven't been reading the books. You can just watch the content. It's coming down the line. So we've got Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 3 coming out on Disney+. This is the furthest they've gone in the book franchise as far as a series. They made 2 movies before. I watched the first movie. I never got around to Sea of Monsters. But Season 2 is out, so I'll probably be catching up on the show. Season 3 is coming in November, so November 20th. We get Season 3. And I'm looking forward to this because I think they're going to go all the way. They're going to adapt all the books of Percy Jackson because there's like 5 books. So the fact they're already on Season 3, they're most of the way there. We got a Rings of Power. Really awesome trailer for the One Ring. Does look like it's going to be a very much higher production rate for the show. So very much like we saw the change from Season 1 to Season 2. Drastic change in some of the storytelling and the fight scenes. Season 3 is set to be one of their biggest seasons yet. Sauron, of course, is forging the One Ring. There's a sequence with him battling a Balrog. And apparently Simon Pegg is going to be voicing that Balrog. It's really cool. It looked like Sauron was taking on the Balrog with Morgoth crown. So that's really cool. Universal Pictures, real quick, are scheduled to do a Snoop Dogg biopic, which sounds very interesting. A theatrical release in August of 2027, so next year around this time. Directed by Craig Brewer. So I haven't really heard of Craig Brewer, but if you guys are aware of who he is, the films that he's directed, that's pretty cool. Let me go through this first page real quick. Covered all these stories. Okay. Going on to my next page of notes, we've got Ebenezer. First trailer was leaked for Comic-Con, which was kind of interesting. You know, it was not expecting Johnny Depp to be in a holiday film, but he is. So that's something. And then, of course, they're talking about how this TRO, this restraining order for Paramount Warner Brothers, is going to be up by August 3rd. It's a temporary restraining order in place. Even though the restraining order is going to end, they still aren't going to be allowed to merge, of course, because there are lawsuits pending. They need to handle some of these issues in court with the EU, European Union. They are claiming that they are breaking a non-trust law, which kind of is what, the Clayton Act and other things. They are fighting to get those thrown out of court, but they are essentially, instead of a monopoly, it's a monopsony. And many outlets have talked about this for weeks, I'm sure. If you guys haven't heard about the story, we've got The Odyssey scores the biggest Monday opening for 2026 as well. 18 million made. That beat out Toy Story 5 and the previous biggest opening, Super Mario Galaxy. So that's really cool. Kevin Feige says 2 things. Doomsday will keep its release date, December 18th, and Secret Wars is just 1 movie. It's not going to be broken up to 2. So he confirmed that at Comic-Con. We also got the Clayface trailer, an extended trailer. Not a big fan. Didn't really see the point of dropping, another trailer for Clayface, but, they need to keep the hype train going, especially with Lanterns coming out, a few other projects. Let's see. Anne Rice's Queen of the Damned series is coming now that Lestat has finished off. A lot of people were upset with the way Lestat ended. I don't want to spoil it, but some of our favorite characters were gotten rid of. Maybe that's because of the contract with AMC. They couldn't renew them for another series. I know Interview with the Vampire was 2 seasons, and then this third, Vampire Lestat, was its own spin-off, but a direct connection to. But yeah, interesting that Queen of the Damned is going to have to be done with whole new people. We might get to see Herman. Herman might show back up, and the guy that was interviewing them, the journalist that becomes a vampire. Can't remember his name. But they might reprise their roles. Not sure. And then, of course, we've got Paramount plans to go straight to trial because they believe they have some ability to win in court. Instead of waiting or delaying it, they want to go straight to trial. Real quick, the Lanterns panel, they announced at Comic-Con there were lantern keychains, and there were rings that they were handing out. This is the Guy Gardner ring, but they were handing out the Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart ring, and a lot of people got collectibles, which I'm a very big fan of. That's basically the main reason that Comic-Con's a thing, collectibles. They also announced Book of Boba Fett sequel coming in August, which is kind of interesting because we heard nothing about Book of Boba Fett after it ended, and they used a little bit of the characters from that in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I've watched it. I got to do a full review of it. But the twins, Jabba's cousins or whatever, they appear in the film. So that's kind of interesting. And apparently they had plans for those twins to use a lot more, but they ended up incorporating them in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So that's interesting. Now, Hutta, the Hutt's homeworld, that was a story going to be done by Guillermo del Toro that they just adapted into the movie. King Charles and Queen Camilla make an unforgettable entrance at the Commonwealth Games in the Doctor Who TARDIS. So really cool that, the British royals are pretty much showing that they know exactly what people love, pop culture, by showing up in the blue TARDIS from Doctor Who. Even though the series is kind of at a crossroads, if you will. I mean, that last season, not a lot of people watched on Disney Plus with the new young Doctor. Can't remember his name, but it's like Chejafor or something like that. Kawui. Anyway, he regenerated into Rose Tyler, and then they're not doing a Christmas special this year. It's probably one of the only times they've not done one. Maybe because BBC wants to buy back the rights from Disney. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the production side of things for Doctor Who. I would very much like it if they did another Christmas special, but we'll have to wait and see. Like I said earlier, Simon Pegg will be voicing the Belrod in Rings of Power Season 3. That was a big announcement. Disney plans on doing an Indiana Jones series after the last movie flopped. So we're not exactly sure if this is going to be a young Indiana Jones series. They just announced an Indiana Jones series. And we know they're making comic books right now. You can buy their Marvel comics, which are interesting. There's a video game that came out, The Perfect Circle. I heard that was a pretty good game. So they're doing stuff with the IP. And they're not replacing Harrison Ford yet. So that's good. We've got Eric Burleson talk about this UAPDA bill that he needs to give before the Senate in December. They're going to vote on it. But this is probably the closest the bill's come to being approved. We know certain people like Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell have not been there in Congress to shoot down the bill. So the bill was approved to be looked at by the Senate. Just goes to show just a few of these individuals, they're not medically, stable, haven't been seen in a few weeks. They're not showing up to these bills, and the things are getting passed. So that's big, interesting stuff. We've also got ufologists are being targeted online by either bots or the government. So that's a big deal. After the Doomsday trailer dropped, more people went out to purchase Spider-Man Brand New Day tickets. And they did put the Doomsday trailer that we got for Comic-Con at the beginning of Spider-Man Brand New Day, in case you haven't seen it. Marvel just wrapped up filming Daredevil Season 3 as well. We got a few set photos of Elektra, a few other characters from the Defenders. Marvel Hall H panel, they announced Ghost Rider. And we'd known about this story for a few months. Ghost Rider is coming with Ryan Gosling. They just announced the director. Let's see, do we have it? Sean Levy, who did Deadpool Wolverine. So very interesting that they're working with Sean Levy for R-rated Marvel content. This seems like he's sort of filling in the gap James Gunn left behind. So that's very interesting. Just a few years later, they've got a new guy to pitch. They also said Sean Levy, super excited about the Ghost Rider project. He just worked with Ryan Gosling on Star Wars Starfighter. Kevin Feige apparently has seen it, and it's amazing. So that's interesting. Black Panther 3, big announcement at Hall H. We got David Johnson as our new T'Challa. This will be Chadwick Boseman, the original Black Panther's son. So that is a very interesting turn of events. They're not trying to replace the character. They're just filling in the slot. And it's going to be released in December of 2028. So right around the same time as Ghost Rider. We're going to get Ghost Rider probably in the fall or summer. And then Black Panther 3 in December. So that's really good. Avengers Secret Wars is to simplify the universe and to make it more understandable. That comes from Kevin Feige. So instead of it being a straight up reboot, he said it's more of a recolonization or a simplification for people that are not sure where to start off on the shows and the movies. It's been over 10 years of these projects. So Kevin Feige is like, we need to reconsolidate. We need to get people on the same page, which is very good. Very smart of a studio head to think that way. So let's move on from there. Only a couple more pages. Okay, we've got new update on the Blade movie. Of course, Mahershala Ali came out with an X post saying it was Marvel's fault. The project didn't happen. If you want to know why, ask Marvel. Mahershala Ali's done answering questions about this, so that's very interesting. D23 is happening on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of August. So we're probably going to be getting some big TV updates like Vision Quest. I know they just canceled Wonder Man Season 2, even though there were scripts ready. That's a big interesting update. In-game Encore as well. There will be an Encore to in-game on September 20th with extra footage getting us ready for in-game, or sorry, not in-game, Doomsday. So that's cool. They also talked about these slides being looked at from observatories in the 1950s. This was pre-Sputnik, us sending out satellites. They've got a 1952 event where stars were disappearing, and the public was not told about this. Very interesting news that just recently came up. And they talked about how in 1952 there were sightings around the Capitol of ships for days, weeks, a massive UAP flap, right around the same time as these stars disappearing. And we do know there were recently reports about a black hole devouring a star in a faraway galaxy. We observed that, but they're not exactly sure what the reason was for these two separate stars disappearing within a matter of weeks in 1952. And then, of course, the sudden flap of UAPs, USOs, could have been what I'm speculating, could have been a sort of a group or a party of refugees from a star system that could have come to Earth, possibly looking for refuge, or, there was speculation for years that those craft above the Capitol were Nazi designed, Nazi craft. Wasn't a big believer of that per se. I know I'd heard that story before, but now hearing that these stars went out, it could very well be a group of stowaway or a refugee craft, kind of like what Guardians portrayed Thor's ship at the beginning of Ragnarok, or at the end of Ragnarok, beginning of Infinity War, a ship that just basically has a whole civilization on it. could have arrived. So that's very fascinating. So after the missing stars, we talk about July 52, over 2 weekends, 2 separate stars went gone. Several shaped craft and size ships were seen. Supposedly they even met with the president. Now we're not exactly sure if that really did happen. It's just speculation that it happened. But the fact these stories are coming out in more detail now, it's been quite a bit of time since these occurrences happened. So we're getting a little bit more information about them, which is good. An open board on declassification of any documents related to non-human life. If their record is older than 25 years, they must be revealed. So certain people in Congress, the UAP Disclosure Act, which Luna is running currently, have been trying to disclose stuff from 25 years plus. Several Congress people have been absent for these bills. Like I said, Chuck Schumer, trying to think of a couple others, but several of them have been medically not cleared and not present for the Republican and Democrat. So that has led to these bills not getting blocked. They've been passing, which is good. A big problem is getting the aerospace companies to release their intellectual property. So that's one of the biggest things, because these are privately owned companies. They're not working with the government. They're contractors. We need legislation, a bill written up saying these contractors need to reveal what they know about the materials they work with. That has yet been drafted. The president might need to write another bill, presidential act, on real dissolving of the NDAs. Because right now, just former employees can go talk to Arrow or Pursue. And they need to just be able to talk to the public, talk to the press. So going on from there, Sega is getting into the physical media game. Really interesting development from Sega. I'm a big fan of the console, but they are creating a new one to read discs. They actually talked about their CEO for the company. They are aware that to keep physical media alive, digital expansion is vital. So they know their classic old games, a lot of people want them to be digital download and be able to play widely available, which they are working on. But not only the path for the company Sega, while digital is the standard for most games now in Xbox, PlayStation, even Switch, Nintendo, Sega has always made money, financial capital, off of physical games, physical cases, the nostalgicness of the cases. So Sega says they are not letting go of the physical game market yet. They are still going to print discs, still make cases for their new console, and the new console is going to be a DVD, Blu-ray, 4K player as well. So all across the board, all standard. Really awesome for Sega to be getting back into the physical media game, especially with Sony pulling out. It seems like Xbox is making their Helios, which may play discs, but it also may be up in price, closer to the Steam box. So, real quick, a wanting mind talks about leads to a being or always being disappointed by everything. So they talk about Buddhists saying a wanting mind is a negative thing. You should not expect for things. Expect the unexpected, let things kind of fall into your lap. But if you're expecting, over expecting, you'll always be disappointed, which is very interesting. The Odyssey's made $87 million already on its second weekend, and 639.6 globally. So that's pretty good for a Sword and Sandals epic. Probably one of the biggest openings for Matt Damon's career, as well as Tom Holland's, Zendaya, John Bernthal, a whole lot of actors in that movie. Let's see how many more pages I got. A couple more pages. So we got Comic-Con announcements. We know Black Panther 3 will be the first film after Secret Wars. That's been confirmed numerous times from several outlets. It's just been confirmed by Kevin Feige. Um, the Odyssey is the biggest Nolan film in his career as well. PLF is making up to 57% and 26% on IMAX screens. That's premium large format. The IMAX, a lot of IMAX screens are actually booked out through September because the Odyssey tickets went online last year and people bought them out. So a lot of people are still gunning to look for IMAX screens for the Odyssey. Tom Holland and Zendaya double feature summer takeover with this Odyssey and then Spider-Man Brand New Day. I've heard it's really good. After Dune 3, Zendaya talks, she's doing Shrek 5. She's going to voice role Shrek's daughter. And then possibly Jason Bourne film with, who is it? I just was talking, Matt Damon. So Matt Damon, Zendaya for Jason Bourne. Will that work? Would that be a nice kind of refresh reboot for the franchise? We'll have to see. Masters of the Universe is on Prime Video. It's #1 streaming movie on Prime. As well as the Avatar Aang, Last Airbender is the #1 movie on Paramount right now. Some questions have been held about letting some of these cable channels go. Paramount's their whole rights issue with controlling all these cable networks. They controlling 5 cable networks and several streaming hubs. So like Tubi, other things like Pluto, they own. So part of these lawsuits and these trials is that they want them to divest from some of their assets. They'd like them to let go of some of their control. Not sure if they will do that, or maybe they'll have to, be paid to. I'm not sure. But some people are questioning, could they drop Nickelodeon, or could they drop Tubi, or one of these other channels? Not sure. We are aware that Peacock is going to be included with your YouTube Premium. So if you pay for YouTube Premium, starting in 2027, you'll be getting Peacock with ads included with your YouTube Premium. Not a big fan of Peacock. I don't have that streaming service. So, but it is cool for bundling. Bundling is the way of the future. It is going to be a much more common practice thing. So, I am looking forward to that. Go on to our next bit of notes. A tornado slams Wisconsin. This is some weather updates, guys. 30 miles southeast of Green Bay. Really big storms hitting the south right now, as well as like really bad flooding. Despite their heat dome, they've had flooding and strong winds for weeks. Hundreds without power in Chicago. Blinding rain and heavy winds. It's like 60-mile-per-hour winds. Those were just in Washington, D.C. as well. They just got hit with very strong winds. The Midwest is getting destroyed. Illinois and Wisconsin both affected by the same system. Wildfires in France and Spain have pretty much charred the entire landscape. They've also got bad air quality across Europe due to those massive fires. The France Secretary of Interior claimed the fires had stopped growing, but they were out of control still. And they tried to save a winery vineyard, but were only able to save like 25% of it. And this is one of the oldest wine vineyards in Paris. So really sad that was lost. Hopefully they'll have enough materials to replant and regrow next year. But more and more, the farmlands of Paris and France, Spain, have just become incredibly dry. And that's led to these humongous wildfires. Then we've got screeners for the Lanterns are out. Certain people have screeners for them already in certain cities. That means, industry people, reviewers, clickbaiters, they get to see some of these shows a little bit earlier than they typically premiere. So that's fine. That's cool. They get a few episodes here and there. They typically don't get the season finale. That is dropped with the whole show, dropped for everyone. but they'll get like 3 or 4 episodes to check it out just to give their early thoughts to the studios. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Certain cities are now expecting an $800 million opening, and some people are saying $900 million. I'm saying it's going to be a big opening due to this being probably one of the biggest Spider-Man movies ever, right? It's already making the same numbers that No Way Home was, a little bit above No Way Home, so that's good. It is going to be playing domestically in China, because I did a little bit of research into why No Way Home didn't do so well in China. Well, I guess that sequence at the end, the third act, where Statue of Liberty has Captain America's shield for some reason. Not sure why they put that in the movie, but I guess it was just cool. Because they put that sequence, the third act, China didn't play No Way Home in a lot of their theaters. They ended up eventually playing it in select theaters, but a large majority of their theaters just did not play that movie because of that odd choice. And now that we don't have that, this movie is going to make gangbusters in China. So that's really cool. I'm sure Tom Holland and Zendaya are very excited. Let's see, how much notes do I have? Like 2 or 3 pages? Yeah, 3 pages. So almost caught up, guys. Lanterns trailer, I want to talk about real quick. Looked amazing. Way better than the teasers we've been getting, which is fascinating. They talked about the Manhunters, so I want to go into this real quick. Manhunters, very interesting choice for a villain. A lot of people are confusing this with John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. I just want to set the record straight. The Manhunters were robots created by the Guardians that were the first wielders of the Lantern Rings, but unfortunately they didn't have very good decision-making skills. They were quite brutal and destroyed planets, so the Guardians of Oa chose to relinquish their power. They essentially gave them a new purpose to hunt down criminals across the galaxy. So the Manhunters went on to hunt down criminals for the Guardians, as the Guardians created their own Green Lantern Corps. Very interesting setup for the show. I'm looking forward to the Manhunters being a villain. Look like they got classic, iconic, comic accurate costumes. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be getting the Martian Manhunter in this series yet. I might be wrong, not sure, but just my opinion, don't think it's going to be Martian Manhunter. But very interesting to see. In the trailer, we get to see a little bit more of some of the other rings teased. We got to see a Black as Night tower, it seems like, which is the black rings, death ring of lanterns. We got to tease Sinestro, so we know he's going to possibly be in jail after the effects of using the yellow ring of fear. I would have liked to see him in the yellow ring, but looks like he's just in jail. So that's going to be going on. Coyote vs. Acme, first official trailer, is out now. You guys can check it out. It looked pretty good. The Atlantic was talking about how the age of articulate, the post-reading, so a lot of people aren't doing enough reading these days, and they're saying it's leading to people not being able to make decisions for themselves and not being able to deter what's true and what's not. So that's really concerning. The Brazil UFO crash in Virginia is getting more news talked about. Apparently, Eric Burleson wrote a letter to the CIA, FBI, asking for any evidence on this craft from 1995. They so far have just been blowing back smoke, just gaslighting him. Let's see. Spider-Man 4 expected to have a post-credit scene. Like most of these films these days, it will have a post-credit, so be sure to stay till the end. People are speculating on how much money it can make. I'm saying it's going to make all the monies. Batman Caped Crusader Season 2 is already out on Prime Video, and it's got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. I started the first season of Caped Crusader, and I just thought it was so weird. Such a weird take on Batman. They changed Penguin into being a chick, and then they've changed a lot of other things in Caped Crusader. Apparently this is a Matt Reeves produced show, which is shocking to me because it doesn't seem anything like the cartoons were back in the day or like the comics. It's its own entity. I might start watching it again just to check it out, but I wasn't a big fan of that animated Spider-Man show on Disney Plus. I wasn't a fan of that either, and I heard they're making another season of that. So Spectacular Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man, whatever they call it, wasn't a big fan. I started it, got like 2 episodes in, and I was just like, this is not my stuff. But we'll have to see and check out if they've improved upon that. Then we got first trailer for Blood and Bone coming out in January 15th, 2027. I'm looking forward to Blood and Bone. It looks amazing. Hoping it's going to do well. Grace Randolph gave it her scathing review, calling it a cheap Black Panther. So there's her opinion on it. And a lot of people said when they saw the trailer, oh, we thought Damson Idris was going to be the new Black Panther. With all those, they did like a freaking, not a tour, but they did like a movie celebration with all the actors walking during one of these award shows. And that was just for Blood and Bone, not Black Panther. So it makes sense. It's kind of a similar story, only they're using, tribes that fought each other over magic. Magic trying not to come back into the world, which is a very interesting topic, I'd say, for especially right now, people studying the phenomenon. Obsession actor joins the Mummy cast. This is Michael Johnson, who plays Bear, the boy in Obsession. There were rumors that he would be playing Brendan Fraser's son, but now apparently reports are saying he's not going to be playing the son. He's going to be playing someone else. And there were also reports that the son may have had a British accent. Well, if you guys remember the Mummy Tomb of the Emperor, I believe, the last mummy where they fought in China, wherever, the son was like totally American. They totally went away from the son having a British accent. So I don't think the son needs to have a British accent if they went away with that in the last film. But we'll have to see. We don't know. And then we've got Kavinsky, French producer behind Drive and Night Call, dead at 50. Really sad news, especially after hearing he was playing at a club and then he went driving at 4 a.m. and he unfortunately got into a motorcycle accident. Really dangerous profession to be driving motorcycle, especially at night. He just recently had a first kid and was, a historic DJ player. He did the soundtrack for Drive. I'm sure a lot of people are shouting out to him, giving him a big blessing. Luis Elizondo, like I said, was calling out UAP Gerb on his truck stop drive across the country as he's moving to DC, possibly for this new position he's got. He threatened UAP Gerb by saying, not good things are going to happen to you. Very interesting. Lou wants to be the UAP czar, the man in control of the documents, control of disclosure. And the NDAs, Lou kind of explained the NDA absolution is just for former employees to go to talk to the government. The Pentagon, Arrow, Pursue, they still aren't allowed to talk to the public. And that's what he wants, supposedly. He wants to be able to talk to us about what he's done. Even though he has lied before about his positions and roles due to national security, he apparently now wants to come out and tell us the truth. So, will we let him? We'll have to see. My pen's starting to die a bit, so I need to get a new Sharpie. But it should be able to last through this stream, I believe. Just a page or two of notes left, guys. Thank you for sticking with me through all this stuff. We've got people with info also talk to Pursue. The public needs pressure from Congress. The public needs to pressure Congress to get this disclosure done and over with, as this conflict in the Middle East is spiraling out of control. Several countries are getting involved, from Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait are now being targeted by Iran. So of course they're going to be talking about creating a united, a shield, if you will. Saudi Arabia wants to create a council of Arabic countries that wants to be basically a shield against Iran. This is a contract, a peace treaty that we signed back in the 80s that they're just now confirming is going to be a real thing. This shield is going to be very interesting to see how they hold up. Is it going to be like the Iron Dome or the Golden Dome? Well, I'm not sure. But Lou has still held up his security oath, as far as we're aware. There are people leading some down the wrong path of disclosure. He talked about that. Some bad actors. And he also said UAP Gerb was doing this for maybe clicks and likes. I don't think that is the case at all. I think he wants to get this information out. Stories he's heard from second, third parties. I'm not sure if the stories are true or not, but he just wants to do the reporting on it. So, let's see. The promising more adult visions for animated cartoons apparently is going to be coming down the line. More adult themes. We know X-Men 97 is doing really well. I've only caught the first few episodes. I haven't caught up with it yet. But they have confirmed that Captain Marvel 3 is in development. I thought that was a very strange choice after The Marvels was very much a streaming movie. Apparently Captain Marvel 3 is in the works. We've also got Tom Hardy in talks to return as Venom in an animated movie. Not exactly sure how this is going to push the franchise to do, more further things. We have been waiting for this crossover between Spider-Man and Venom for almost 10 years. Amy Pascal, who works over at Sony, talks about how she's got plans for Spidey for the next 10 years. So that's a big update from Amy Pascal. They're also saying David Johnson may appear as our new Black Panther before his own movie. So he may appear in Doomsday or maybe Secret Wars. That might set up why Wakanda has changed. Letitia Wright is still going to be our Shuri, our Black Panther. But it seems like we're going to have two at one point. Or she's going to be a mentor teaching her nephew. And then we've got Artificial movie from Amazon, who's being shopped around because Amazon's recently put a lot of money into OpenAI, and they don't want to make any of the people from OpenAI, Sam Altman or Elon Musk, look bad. So Amazon's shipping the movie around, which makes sense. Fast and the Furious at Universal is struggling to get its expenses covered, even though we just heard today about Vin Diesel's read the script, and it's the best thing he's ever read. He's crying over it. But unfortunately, it's having a very hard time earning money because the last one was a flop. We are expecting to hear early production is supposed to start in 2027, and it's supposed to be out by 28. Not sure if it's going to make that release date, but we are hoping. They had a rumor a few months back that they had enough cars and enough lot space to start filming if they wanted to turn Fast Forever, which is going to be the 11th film in the franchise. If they wanted to turn that into a series for Peacock, they had all the materials to do it for a much cheaper budget. But I'm not sure if Vin Diesel ever approved of that, or if Universal approved of it, or if that was just an idea someone floated out. But like I said earlier, the Iran conflict is growing across the Middle East. Egypt has been struck for the first time in its Damietta port, which was blown up by a drone. No one's aware of where the drone came from. No country has taken responsibility for it. But we do know that the Houthis and other Islamic terrorist groups have targeted Saudi Arabia. Now they're targeting the Mediterranean Sea in Egypt for trade, hoping to put more struggle on any country that has U.S. allies. A fire started at the gas refinery plant, so where they get their fuel. They are in a fuel crisis right now due to the Strait of Hormuz being closed. So the fact that their fuel refinery was targeted makes me think it was Iran or someone close to them, possibly the Houthis. But like I said, no country's taken responsibility yet. Egypt has issued a statement saying we have no plans on getting involved in the conflict, but that doesn't mean they don't have plans for defending themselves as well. So that's going on. Let's see. Vertical escalation is happening in the region. Talking about possibly sending an earthquake bomb, a bomb that would burrow itself 200 feet into the ground and possibly blow up any kind of fortified base that the Pickaxe Mountain would have. Pickaxe Mountain is, of course, that Fordo base, which was bombed consecutively months ago, and we believed it was completely destroyed. Now we've seen backhoes and equipment being moved in to pull rubble out of the Pickaxe Mountain. They are getting ready to get their assets up and running again, so that's a big concern. Tim Burchett said he's tried to tell the president about the deep state, but he's not aware as he should be on some of the aspects of it, so that's very interesting. Jumanji 4 dropped a new trailer. They're calling it Jumanji 3 Open World, but it's the fourth one, if you guys consider the Robin Williams movie and then the other reboots. This is 4. Doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't look too great either. It's some of the game characters coming into our world. That's why it's open world. Looking forward to it. Haven't caught any of the Jumanji movies, but now that this last one in the franchise is coming out, I might do a watch along just to check them out. YouTube, I talked about YouTube Premiere or Premium has Peacock coming. Disney Plus canceled Wonder Man Season 2, which was shocking because it had very good reviews when the show dropped. I haven't caught it yet. I'm a few Marvel shows behind. But a big X-Men cast announcement. Samara Weaving from Knives Out, I believe, is reported to be our new Emma Frost, the White Queen. Really interesting casting here. She has been having a tremendous year with Knives Out 2, Ready or Not. Or is it Ready or Not 2? I think it might be Ready or Not 2 that came out. But really cool that is going on with Samara Weaving. Probably going to be casting around her age group for the other X-Men. Adam Driver may play the villain in Heat Part 2, and they're already talking about Heat Part 3, so that's very interesting for the crime genre. Mahershala Ali publicly addressed the Blade situation, saying it's not his fault, it's Marvel's. Then, a very interesting announcement came out of DC Studios that they were working on a Booster Gold series. We didn't know anything about the showrunner or how this is going to be happening at Max, but now they've confirmed Booster Gold isn't happening. They actually reshared Mahershala Ali's ex-post, which was kind of meta, but if you know the character Booster Gold, he copies off of other people, so it's very interesting that they just reshared Mahershala Ali's post on X saying the reason the project didn't come together was the studio. So Booster Gold, unfortunately, isn't happening. It was one of those shows that I was kind of surprised that they were announced, just like the Jimmy Olsen Gorilla Grodd series that supposedly is still happening. Sam Raimi and Stephen King are working together for the first time ever, these horror masters, to work on an adaptation of Desperation for Searchlight. So I've never heard of this book. Not sure if it's a banger in the horror community, Desperation for Searchlight. I know he's pretty much adapted everything else he's made. Welcome to Derry is a pretty good show. So yeah, very interesting stuff there. Onslaught dropped a new teaser for its movie with Arjuna Arjona. So that's really cool. Heat 3 in the works with Amazon MGM. They believe it could make as much money as F1, which is very interesting. It's got the same director as F1. The president went to Camp David to have a historic press briefing about the conflict in Iran. Talks over sending a bomb, earthquake bomb, has been discussed to essentially eradicate their infrastructure. Not sure if that's necessary yet. And then, of course, Pavel was talking about the super spectrum, and about living in a time of singularity. Diana Basalka, who's a religious specialist, she does religious studies. She went on Joe Rogan's podcast recently, so you guys can check that out. Encountering intelligence from beyond, so another realm is this super spectrum. She also talks about the invisible college, how a group of people were studying the phenomenon and then they were infiltrated by Doty, disinformation agent. Richard Dolan talked about infighting going on in the government, factions. Apparently some people will come out and whistleblow about this amazing new technology we've made breakthroughs in, and then another group will come out to discredit them and try to bury their research, and that's happening all the time. And many believe this faction war is going on within the community. The phenomenon isn't a good or bad thing, but what people put into it is what they get out. So their intentions, their religious dogma, their fears. John Keel believes that all religions started with people encountering human-like parahumans in this super spectrum and then bringing back the knowledge they got to start religions, which is very interesting. It goes back to the DMT belief that the burning bush was DMT, and that Moses could have been communicating with beings from another realm. Very interesting stories that have come up. The time for humanity, every time humanity is threatened, these beings appear. Even in the Black Plague, there were craft orbs being spotted. So anytime there's a mass casualty event or humanity's gone in a different direction, these craft, these beings show themselves. Magic with a K, they discussed, is coming back. It's going to be returning by the end of the 21st century. Frequency higher than humans can hear is being studied by the government, and how the effects of this sound works on the human body. So we got one last page, guys. This is today's news. Widespread Apple Pay outages. Now, I don't use Apple Pay because I don't trust it, digital currency. But unfortunately, a lot of people that were using it had disruptions in their, widespread Apple Pay. So that was unfortunate. Not sure if that's due to hacking or what's going on. We've also got water towers that were recently hacked in Minnesota and a couple other states. They believe that the hack may have came from Iran. But then the president went out and tried to claim that Minnesota governor was the one doing the hack. So very interesting stuff going on there. Ryan Murphy claims that the season 13 of American Horror Story will play an homage to all 13 seasons. So each episode will be about each of the previous seasons. I'll be very interested to look into that, how they're going to incorporate that. Haven't caught up on 911 or 911. What is the other spinoff? They've done Houston, Texas, but now it's Nashville. Haven't caught up on Nashville yet. Haven't caught up on 911 yet. They have confirmed it's getting a season 10. So 10 seasons for 911. And then, of course, his spin-offs are getting big acclaim as well. I believe The Beauty was canceled, and then now he's working on another show. The new trailer for Avengers Doomsday will play ahead of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Reported on that earlier. HBO Max, it was announced at the Green Lantern panel that all episodes would be streaming on August 16th. Fortunately, that was a bit of a miss-up. They have confirmed DC Studios and HBO. It is going to be a weekly series. It's going to be playing through until, I guess, September or October, right around the time Clayface comes out. So they have a release schedule. I just hope that people that are aware of it would post about it and let the general public know there is some sort of a plan after Supergirl's sudden digital release. You can watch Supergirl at home now. I haven't caught up on it. I'm still reading the book. which is phenomenal in my opinion. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I'm about, I'd say, halfway through it. Not quite at, let's see, what's the next chapter? I'm about to make it to chapter 5. So, about halfway through the book. It's fantastic. I really wish they would have adapted this storyline for the movie, but what can you say? Next we got, pretty much that's it for the movie news. There's some more stuff coming down the line. I will be talking about my Mandalorian Grogu update. I've seen the movie, be doing it out of the theater or just at home review for it. Odyssey's still playing. New Spider-Man's out. Check it out. A lot of trailers out. Wicker Man, or The Wicker, is out. Didn't know what that movie was about, but it's getting quite the rave. So be sure to check out these projects. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe for future content coming down the line. But until next time, guys, this is me signing off. Have a good one. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in another one of my videos. Bye-bye.